this video, I'll be going over how to play Rogue. The Rogue is a really fast class. Your advantages are that you have high agility, which is going to give you really high movement speed as well as attack speed. So you'll have really high DPS as a Rogue, but you also have low strength, which is going to give you low health and also give you a negative physical power bonus by default. So essentially, at least as a default Rogue, you won't be hitting very hard, but you'll be hitting really fast. Let's go over what perks and skills to take. Rogue is probably the hardest to decide on what perks you should have, and a lot of it comes down to personal preference as well as what situations you're going to use and even what weapon you're going to use. As far as skills go, having hide is almost a necessity as a rogue. It's probably your strongest skill, and I really wouldn't take this away from any build. The other top option, in my opinion, is weak point attack. Weak point attack is going to make you do 50% additional weapon damage on the next hit, and that's going to reduce their armor rating by 40% for 5 seconds. That's really strong if you're fighting an armored target, but even unarmored targets, because of the way that the armor rating works, if you take away 40% of 39, it's kind of like a parabola as far as how the physical damage reduction actually works. So I'll show you here. If I take off 14 armor rating, that's about, I would actually lose a little bit more than that from the weak point. But if I just take off 14, even though I barely have armor rating, that's going to drop me down to 1.5% from 7.7%, which is a pretty significant difference. On top of that, most of the time, you're going to be killing someone within 5 seconds. So that's basically full to dead. Someone is probably going to be 40% less armor rating. On top of that, the burst damage is better than rupture, in my opinion. And rupture is not going to work as well on armor targets. Rupture is close, probably, if you're fighting strictly like targets that are going to have about as much armor as I have right now, like 39 armor. It's pretty close in damage to weak point. But if you're built at all, then weak point attack is much stronger than rupture just because of that 50% additional weapon damage. On top of that, if you combine it with ambush, then you're going to do insane damage just on your first hit. So 50% extra on top of 50% extra, you're going to be headshotting someone with a Chris dagger for probably like 60 or 70 damage, even if you're not built at all, which a lot of players, that's going to almost kill them just by hitting one headshot if you have ambush with this. The other skills, caltrops, this is good for ratting and good for pickpocketing. Cutthroat, I don't think it's really viable because most of the time anyone who you would hit in silence, that's going to matter a lot. They're going to be dead within 3 seconds anyways. If you were specifically targeting really high-end wizards or something, you could maybe take out a high roller wizard by having this, but most of the time it's not very viable. Smoke pot, another probably good option for ratting and running away. Pair this with maybe double jump and you're going to be able to outmaneuver someone a lot, especially if you have terrain that you can hop around on, and it's also going to slow someone a lot. Tumbling, I don't think tumbling is that useful. It's kind of a meme. I haven't tested it too much. Maybe you can like hit someone one time and then tumble and continually kite them in that way, but I'm not entirely sure. I'll try to go through these perks fast and also give as much information as I can that's useful. Backstab, this is really good if you're particularly skilled at using stealth to get around someone after you go into hide. It can also be really useful maybe with like a smoke pot, or if you're going to just stalk someone until you get a chance to attack them in the back. maybe you can stalk a team and then take out one of their players and then run away and continually do something like that. Dagger mastery, this is really better if you're built. It's good all around though. Double jump is really useful for running away or cutting off players. Double jump can also be used to hop on top of terrain and cheese a lot of the enemies in the game. You can hop on objects and rooms and poke them with a rapier and things like that. Hand crossbow mastery, I would say this would be something that would pair with double jump if you're strictly trying to kite someone and not necessarily burst them down. Having a hand crossbow can be really good for just kiting someone around a room or something. Or hidden pockets, just unequip whatever's in your belt instead of using this. If you're not using something, then just take it off of your belt if you think that's going to give away your stealth. Jokester is really good if you're playing with a party. I would have this on if you have 2 other people with you, but it's going to give you +2 all attributes, which is pretty much one pretty good piece of gear for free. Lockpicking mastery, this would be something for ratting, I would say. It's really good if you're going to try to get the lion's head chests that are locked, or open golden chests in particular, and get that higher end loot. Pickpocket, this is really specific for your type of playstyle. Maybe if you don't want to fight anyone, you can just go around and pickpocket along with like creep for silent footsteps and also stealth and stuff. Poison weapon, this is another option I would say is really good for PvE. PvP, it's good, but I don't think it's the best option because you're going to have to wait 4 seconds for the damage to come in, and a lot of the other options are going to probably have more viability in bursting someone down. A lot of times you really want to burst kill someone as a rogue. Thrust, this is only good for super heavily armored targets. It's not really going to do anything most of the time. Trap detection, maybe something you're going to want if you're just going to play pickpocket or something, or rat. Personally, I like to have shadow runner. You can pop hide just to get away from someone, as well as coming out of hide, you can surprise them by coming in quickly, and then if you need to, you can get out quickly, or you can spin around them and make them miss their initial attacks. Stealth is my #1 pick. It makes it to where when you crouch walk, you can move for 10 steps while you're in hide and you'll stay invisible. This means that you can hide from around a corner and surprise someone by moving from where you initially hid, or even if someone sees you, you can hide and crouch walk away from where you initially hid. And a lot of the times you'll be able to catch someone by surprise from them thinking they know where you are when they don't, especially when paired with something like creep, so they can't hear where you're moving and they think that you're just stationary in the same spot. Creep is another option that's really good for ratting or pickpocketing, but on top of that, you can use it to stalk teams or other players, and also just use it in general to listen to others' footsteps and follow them around while you're not being heard. Ambush, this is going to allow you to deal a lot of weapon damage initially as soon as you pop out a hide. This is my personal preference over poisoned weapon because you're going to do pretty much equivalent to probably 4+ poisoned weapon attacks just by hitting one single ambush attack, and it's going to be an instant burst. This is also going to scale a lot better than poisoned weapon with anything that you're going to build your character with. When it comes to what weapons to pick as a rogue, I think that knowing what the different weapons do is really important. The Rondel dagger pretty much just stabs. It's a 2-hit combo. It doesn't really do anything unique. Same damage every stab. The stiletto and the castellan both have a 3-hit combo that's going to have a combo finisher, and that combo finisher at the end is going to do a lot of extra weapon damage. The stiletto dagger has very good DPS, but it's kind of hard to hit. The Chris dagger has the most damage, I think, of any of your rogue weapons, or at least of any of your daggers. And This can be really good when paired with ambush because its initial hit does a lot of damage and is also really easy to hit because you're going to swing sideways twice and then you're going to do a 2-hit stab finisher, a very rapid 2-hit stab finisher too. The rapier, this is good for keeping more range. It's probably your best ranged option as a rogue, your highest range weapon at least. Then there's the short sword. I would say that this is a more balanced and straightforward weapon. As far as how to build a rogue goes, I'll make a build video later on the rogue, but a quick summary, I would say prioritize all attributes, weapon damage, strength, true physical, additional physical, movement speed, and then maybe max health. Since rogues don't have a way to heal, make sure to stock up on potions from the alchemist, and even campfires can be really useful. Same with bandages. Getting into actual gameplay for PvE, when it comes to enemies that shoot projectiles, like archers or other projectile-based enemies, I would get used to just before they shoot, turning and pressing W to move to the side. Combine this with crouching and looking down when they shoot on enemies like archers that will shoot their first shot on your head, and most of the time you won't get hit at all. In general, I would go for 2 hits when their attacks are on cooldown, but with faster weapons like a stiletto dagger you can get more. Also, having more agility, which means more attack speed, will let you get more attacks in. For most melee enemies, you can attack from max range and then walk out of range when they counterattack, and then walk back in and get 2 to 3 stabs as a counterattack to their attack. If the enemy does combo swings, just bait it until the end of the combo, then attack after their combo is finished and then walk back out of range. In PvP, recognizing other players' weapons and understanding when their attacks will be on downtime is really important for jumping in and getting free attacks. Since rogues have really high attack speed and movement speed with their weapons, a lot of enemies you can bait an attack out and then walk into range and try to attack from max range before walking out. So in situations you know you are fighting someone with a punishable weapon, walk into their attack range and try to bait attacks, and then walk in and try to counter swing. The spacing and timing can be really difficult, but once you learn it, a lot of times you can beat people in straight up fights on top of having ambush advantages and such. Don't be afraid to draw out the fight against tanky enemies and just slowly whittle down your opponent. Also, if you have the presence of mind, make sure to use your throwing daggers and any thrown weapons like lanterns that you have whenever your enemy gives you too much space. I would only recommend this particular fighting style if you're fighting someone like a barbarian or a fighter who's very tanky and you know that you can punish their weapon. If this barbarian had something like a horseman axe or something very difficult for a rogue to punish, then instead I would recommend running away. And if you have stealth back, you can run into a room full of enemies and then pop stealth and the enemies will attack them. Or alternatively, you can just run away if you don't have stealth and run through open doors and close them on them, or if you find an opportunity to open a door, just open it and then close it on the enemy. It's up to you how to approach a fight, but if they have an advantageous weapon, then I would make sure at the least to have hide back before you actually try to attack. Stalking someone and knowing exactly where they want to go as rogue is one of the best ways to give yourself an advantage. Once you know where someone's headed, whether that's from the enemies they're clearing or you hear a door opening, you can go into stealth and then crouch walk into an advantageous position. Make sure to apply weak point before you go into stealth, because applying it while in stealth will put you out of stealth. Also, I know I had rupture on in this video, but weak point is definitely better in general. Once you're stealthed and you've moved to where you want to be, it can be smart to save yourself a couple of steps just in case you need to move a little bit. And also if say someone's interacting with something, like how this guy's opening the chest, waiting until the last second to attack can be really useful because that inventory tab's going to pop up on their screen and block it as soon as they open the chest. Same with looting an enemy. In general, people are more inclined to follow through with something they think that they're almost done with too, so that will usually slow someone's reaction time, even if it's something like opening a door and being at 90%. Finally, one of the most important things for winning fights as a rogue is if someone knows where you are and hide. As long as you have stealth, you can use that to your advantage and move to a new position before attacking. This is even easier if the person's trying to cast a spell or making a lot of noise by swinging their weapon. Once you have someone where you want them, then just come out of stealth and attack immediately. Try to aim for a headshot on the first shot specifically, because if you have something like ambush, you're going to do way more damage, and the first hit when someone's surprised is also the easiest to land. One last tip for rogue, especially if you're solo rogue, is setting traps in rooms by turning off burners can give you a huge advantage if someone ever comes into the room. This kind of applies for all classes, but being a rogue and having stealth and hide make the advantage even bigger. On top of that, the same way that you can guard loot or guard treasure chests, using a portal as a trap can be a great way to fill up your loot at the end and get a free kill. And if you use a portal as a trap, you also have a quick way out if anyone has loot that you kill. Overall, rogue is a complex class with a ton of different ways that you can play, but hopefully I compressed this video to give you most of the valuable information that you'll need. That's it for this video.